Imagine waking up to find your company's bank accounts frozen, and the factory you spent years building is suddenly on the auction block. That is the exact situation facing Yongfeng Long, a manufacturing company in Suzhou. In 2024, a court prepared to force the sale of their core asset, a plot of land and a factory valued at over 20 million RMB. This chart shows the disparity driving the auction. On the right is the 20 million yuan factory. On the left is the catalyst, a court ruling claiming the company failed to repay a 1.37 million yuan loan to a Taiwanese resident 14 years ago. When the current management searched through decades of financial archives, they found no record that this money was ever borrowed. No contracts, no operational need, and no internal approval. The question is how a 1.37 million yuan debt survived for 14 years, successfully navigating the legal system to eventually target a 20 million yuan enterprise. The roots of the case reach back to a crisis in 2010. The company's original chairman was deported to Taiwan to face criminal charges, leaving the Suzhou factory without clear leadership. During the ensuing scramble for control, the company's internal defenses collapsed. Official seals and financial oversight were left compromised and exposed. As the company sat paralyzed, an unemployed Taiwanese man named Bi Jianxing filed a lawsuit demanding the 1.37 million repayment. Banking records reveal his true identity. Bi Jianxing is the deported chairman's brother-in-law. This was an inside job, timed to take advantage of the leadership vacuum to claim the company's assets. To win in court, the plaintiff couldn't rely on a simple forged receipt. They needed a money loop, a sequence of bank transfers that made a manufactured debt look like a legitimate commercial transaction. This flowchart tracks the second claimed loan of 395,000 yuan. The money didn't originate with the lender. It started inside Yongfeng Long's own bank account. The company transferred funds to Chairman Yang Guohua, who forwarded them to his mistress, Ma Shaoxi. To break the digital trail, Ma Shaoxi physically withdrew the cash. At the same branch, Bi Jianxing deposited the identical amount, then wired it back to Yongfeng Long, completing the loop and generating an official receipt for a fake loan. Bi Jianxing's bank history shows no other activity, no groceries, no utilities, and no other transfers. It was a shell account used specifically to manufacture these records. The company essentially borrowed its own money. In a cycle taking just 3 to 7 days, the network manufactured evidence for a 1.37 million yuan debt out of thin air. Manufacturing the bank records was only half the strategy. To ensure the judgment would stand, the scammers had to make sure the company wouldn't fight back in the courtroom. They achieved this by controlling the defense. The person representing Yongfeng Long at trial was Wang Yiwei, a manager who refused to hand over the physical company seal to the new board. This meant that both sides of the lawsuit belonged to the same family. Wang Yiwei, defending the company, is the deported chairman's cousin and a direct relative of the man suing the company. The legitimate new management reported the suspected crime to the police and filed an urgent request for the court to suspend the trial until the fraud could be investigated. This radar chart maps the procedural failures that followed. The judge did not stop the trial. He issued a default judgment against the company, granting the scammers their principal plus an 18% annual interest rate. The plaintiff and defendant effectively colluded to use the authority of a court judgment to transfer the company's property. That fabricated 1.37 million yuan principal, combined with the court-ordered 18% interest rate, grew into a massive liability over 14 years. The perpetrators are now attempting to use this inflated debt to auction off the company's factory, an action that would eliminate the business entirely. A turning point arrived in 2024. As shown at the end of this timeline, the prosecutor's office identified the markers of fake litigation and issued an emergency notice to the court to halt the asset disposal. This case demonstrates how easily legal procedures can be turned against the very businesses they are meant to protect when obvious financial contradictions are overlooked. Exposing the circular bank transfers and the family ties behind the lawsuit is the only way to end this 14-year dispute. Restoring justice requires the legal system to recognize when its own power is being used to validate a fraud.